a campaign says that the RNC is, rigging the rules. It's just not the case. The rules have been set. They're in place. They're not going to change in these states. And they're the same, for the next state in New York, they're all out there. Everyone knows what the rules are.
RNC Chairman Reince Priebus on CNN earlier this week responding to Donald Trump's claims that the RNC is conspiring to deprive him of the nomination. Trump and his backers are upset with Priebus, but so are more establishment types, saying that Priebus should have done more and actually stood up to Donald Trump. It's an interesting situation for the RNC chairman, one we're going to discuss right now with our political panel. First, via Skype from the Queen City of the West, Cincinnati, it's Ken Blackwell, who's currently the senior fellow for the Family Research Council. He Skypes in from the Buckeye State, as I mentioned, from Cincinnati, and from Orlando, Florida, Democratic strategist Stephen Leser, also the radio host of Making Sense with Steve Leser. Our thanks to you both. Ken, since you're my fellow Republican, let me just ask you straight out. Has Reince Priebus bungled the Republican race?
No, he hasn't. And I think what Donald Trump is doing is what Billy Martin used to do. He is working the umpires. And, this is Donald Trump doing his equivalent of Billy Martin going out and kicking dust on the umpire's shoes. Just trying to, in fact, get into the umpire's head. And I thought Priebus did a pretty good job of basically saying, here are the rules. And this is not like working a computer or turning on a television where you don't have to get into all the intricacies. This is a civics lesson. You have to understand the rule book. If you don't get your mind wrapped around the rule book, that's your fault, not the umpire's fault.
I'm interested in your thoughts, Stephen, sitting across the aisle, as it were. What about Priebus and what he's been trying to do in the Republican Party?
Well, I would love to give him a hard time, but unfortunately, I'm in the position of having to agree with him. One of the reasons is I've watched this sort of happen on the other side of the aisle with Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Anything she's tried to do, she's being attacked for being partisan and trying to throw the race in favor of one of the candidates. That's exactly what would happen to Reince Priebus if he had tried to do anything more in this situation. For Donald Trump, who's the anti-establishment candidate here, he would love to engage more with a more active Reince Priebus. I think, unfortunately, Priebus has handled this just about right.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned the other side, Steve, so we're going to talk some about the Democrats. For example, Bernie Sanders' wife was on MSNBC's Morning Joe earlier today taking issue with the Democrats' delegate system. Let's listen and look at this.
Every state has its own rules. I think it's crazy. We're running a national election. We should have same-day registration, open primaries and caucuses, and allow the people to vote.
So what about that, Stephen? Sounds like she wants to federalize the election system. Is that even constitutional?
It's probably not. The Constitution is actually pretty clear about that. Those things are handled in a manner of the way that the state legislatures thereof direct. But look, her side is losing. And unfortunately, some folks, when your side is losing, they attack the rules. They want to change the rules. The rules in both parties evolved the way they are to avoid brokered conventions, because those have been complete disasters to the parties that had them in the past. But everybody knew the rules in advance. If she didn't like the rules, if Bernie Sanders didn't like the rules, if his campaign didn't like the rules, they should have said something a long time ago. But now that they're losing, of course, they're complaining.
Well, let's turn to Ken Blackwell now. It's Turnabout Ken, a Republican, commenting on what's happening with the Democrats.
It's just amazing to watch. It's a good thing that I paid attention in my political science classes at Xavier University, and I understand socialists love centralized power in the hands of the government. So what she said was not a big surprise to me, because I think she and her husband are dedicated socialists.
All right, we've got about a minute and a half left. We better talk about the big Democrat debate tonight in Brooklyn, the first one since the candidates have really kind of gotten aggressive with each other. Stephen, Sanders, in one poll, has closed within 2 points of Hillary. He's really gone after her, and the perception that she's too close to Wall Street. Will that help him tonight?
I don't think so. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of New Yorkers who I've spoken to are upset at how Bernie has gone after her. Hillary is very popular in New York. One of Bernie's surrogates made a really ugly comment about Hillary the other day, calling her, well, not the other day, yesterday, calling her a Democratic corporate whore that has really backfired particularly among a lot of women in New York who don't like that kind of language. So I'm looking for about a 10 to 15 point victory a week from now in the primary as a result. And I think Bernie's going to be taken to task tonight for some of those comments that have been made.
Yeah, Ken, that bad word, is that going to do Bernie in 10 seconds?
Well, I think Bernie needed to stay right on the whole theme of Hillary Clinton being unauthentic. If he stays on that, he has the momentum. He's going to make it interesting.
All right, we will see what happens. Have to leave it there. Ken Blackwell in Cincinnati, Steve Leser from Orlando. Gentlemen, you have our thanks. We'll keep a close eye on that Democrat debate tonight. Now, when I come back, the way I see it, you'll want to see that.